Hey fans, your favorite couch warriors got up off the couch to talk a little UFC 249. So thank you for joining us at the Casuals MMA podcast. You can join us most places podcasts are found: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartMedia, Podbean, and YouTube. And remember to follow us on our Facebook page and Instagram account for your daily MMA updates. Find links and information in the details and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Casuals MMA. Now, exciting most of all is we are now a part of the new podcast network out of South Florida, FanstreamSports.com, Tampa Bay's real sports podcasting network, featuring the JP Show, which airs live from 3 to 6 p.m. weekdays on 8:20 a.m. Make sure to visit FanstreamSports.com and also download the app on Android and Apple. They have a lot of great shows, from the JP Show to Sports Caffeine, Loose Cannons Podcast, and now the Casuals MMA. Welcome back, fans. We are pumped. I'm here with my co-hosts, Sean.
We're finally back, baby.
And Dan.
Super excited. Let's go.
Yeah. Boys, we are going to be among the two sports that are returning the quickest. I'm not counting the WWE because obviously that's still going in Orlando, but it's a show, not a sport. So,
yeah, I don't think they've been getting good reviews on that.
No, and
the whole point of it is crowd work, and there's no crowd.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine, like, you're doing all that dramatic, like, I'm going to take you under, and then, like, the crowd doesn't go wild because there's nobody out there. It's just crickets. It's like, that's anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But the UFC and NASCAR going to be the first two sports back.
Yeah, but
kind of weird.
The UFC, I think, is bigger.
Oh, definitely. Well, I don't know about numbers.
I don't know what the world would do without NASCAR.
I don't know. I've never really met anybody that watches NASCAR that I know. I mean, I know there's people out there that do, but I just.
It actually has. I think it has a pretty big following. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I know at one point it was like the fastest growing sport in the world.
Well, that was 5 minutes, and then I made myself look like an ass.
Well, I mean, we're from a place that, I mean, guys, whereas NASCAR isn't popular down here.
But they have a big NASCAR race in Florida.
I know, but that's the irony of it, is it's just there's not a big following down here. But anyways, all right. Yes, most exciting of all is the UFC's bringing their events to Florida on top of that.
They're not just bringing their events to Florida. They're bringing a banger to Florida.
They're bringing their banger, their welcome back show, and they're bringing all of the shows coming up in Florida for the time being in Jacksonville.
They'll reward the state, and they'll
right?
once they Jacksonville, and once they reopen it to the fans, hopefully we'll get a good card that we can go see live.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. I can't. Sean and I are still waiting to go see a UFC event live. It's just
the first one to be a good one.
Absolutely, and that's part of the problem is they just don't put good shows down here in Florida. And the reason being was that, like, all these years ago, Dana White was upset with the Florida Boxing Commission because I guess they screwed up some events or they screwed up an event. He said, "I'm never going to hold another big show in Florida." And then here we are years later, where he really has held true to that. We haven't really had any big pay-per-views down here.
They had one big free card where Cowboy fought Dos Anjos.
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of fights on that, but that was like the only time.
No, and it's such a pain in the ass, especially because then after they open it up in New York, there's not another state that's had more issues in their judging, their reffing than New York's.
It's Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
It's New York.
No, I mean, hey, I get it. It's a trade-off. Like, you're hoping that boxing commission or the fight commission is going to grow.
You can't tell me you have Masvidal fighting the 305. You don't think that would be bananas?
One of the biggest MMA fight gyms in the world is on that coast. Like, there's no reason. I feel like half the fight cards that are posted by the UFC are top team fighters. I mean,
I would agree with that. Agree with that.
What's Henry Hoof's team too? Whatever's left of the Black Zillion.
Yeah, whatever. They train over there. Jakar Souza trains out of Orlando somewhere. Mike Perry. A couple guys a guy we talk about tonight on the card, Nico Price, trains out of Cape Coral. I mean, we have tons of guys that train out of Florida, man. A lot of big names. And hey, but you know what? Florida came through though, because the Boxing Commission said, "Hey Dana, whenever you want to do this thing," and mind you, this was right after the whole fiasco with Disney coming in and California. ESPN, in California saying, "No, wait, Dana, you can't run this event out here." This was a few weeks ago. You can't do that. And then he came up with the whole Fight Island idea, and then he said, "Well, Fight Island isn't going to be ready yet." Florida Boxing Commission came in and said, "Hey, do it down here. we'll sanction it. Bring your fighters here. We'll do it. And he did. And so this is going to be a big opportunity for him to show up.
When you get a good favor with Dana, good things happen.
Absolutely.
For you, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, because he already said he wants to hold an event at that place that was that offered.
Too, not like one of these little dipshit cards.
Yeah.
Sometimes they put on when they just got these small venues.
Right. And he said he was going to do that to that venue out in California. I can't remember the name.
That Indian reservation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he was saying as soon as they're full force and going again out in California, he said he was going to hold an event there because of the fact that they were willing to do it. They weren't going to back down. It just came last minute because if you don't know, the UFC is in a close partnership with ESPN, obviously, if you watch like the free cards and all that stuff. And ESPN is owned by Disney. Disney said the top executives at Disney came down and said, dude, you can't do this right now. Like, no go.
The name of that place was Tachi Palace
yes.
and Resort in Lemoore, California. Yeah, that was the name of the place that they're going to be holding a card at, or at least promising to later this year.
Yeah. Dan, you're almost like our stat guy now. So if you're watching our video, you won't see Dan live with us. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make it, so he dialed in. So he's over Skype audio right now. But you almost sound like our stat guy. Like we're just talking
Jamie,
stuff.
Pull that up?
Yeah, Jamie, go ahead and pull that up.
Like Joe Rogan's right hand man in the back.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, that's what it is. Dan, can you pull it up on the big screen? No, that's not it. Come on, the next one.
No, go back to the other one.
But anyways, actually, while we're on that subject, man, at first I was wondering why the UFC was pushing so hard for an event. I mean, because Dana White was pushing hard. I mean, these guys
look pretty selfish. Like
they were going for it. Yeah. I mean, he was in a full sprint.
No intention of stopping.
I mean, and they were talking about, I can only imagine the effort that they were putting in night and day, like the people that are working behind the scenes. And at first I'm like, man, Dana really just sees this as a big opportunity. Like none of the other sports are going. Everybody's itching for sports. We're supposed to be having spring football right now. Baseball's supposed to be in full swing.
The draft, that was weird.
Yeah, I know the draft was weird, but
people tuned in for the draft.
Yeah. And I think the thing is he wanted to take advantage of that. And I said, this is going to be fantastic for the sport. Like everybody you're going to have a lot of fans that never really watched the UFC tune in for this one because they're itching for something live like
that's
this.
Something we talked about in our last podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's kind of come out lately that their parent company has been struggling a little bit.
WME?
Yep, WME or Endeavor. Yes, Endeavor is the name. It was WME something.
WME IMG.
Yep, there you go. And then they had Endeavor as the parent company. But anyway, so they just got downgraded by the Better Business Bureau. Their credit rating went down to like a CCC minus or something like that. So it goes back to almost thinking about. There's been a few things that have happened this year, and if you look at it, you almost wonder what they're trying to save face right now. The UFC is because. Yeah, but go ahead.
In addition to it, gentlemen, that like Dana is held accountable to like bring in certain amount of revenues with his contract with Disney and ESPN. I think he's held liable to bring in a certain amount of views and revenues for but the contract.
Well, I'm sure that's his job as president is to keep the revenue going upwards.
Yeah, but I was going to say that's got to be on back burner while the COVID-19 situation's going. So that's what I'm saying. Like through extreme circumstances, why are they still pushing it? And you start thinking about some of the things that have happened. They increased pay-per-view costs this year by $5 at the beginning of the year. Which it pissed everybody off because you're already paying for an ESPN subscription. A lot of us pay for the Fight Pass, whiwhich costs I think $8 or $9.
I think it's 15.
Is it 15?
15? I thought it was.
I think it's 10. Yeah, I think it's 10. And then you're paying your $4.99 a month for ESPN, which like that one's not too bad because like you can watch your other sports on there as well. But then your pay-per-views are increased to $65. And then on top of that, you hear about the UFC like 2 months ago, it came out that they were going to pay like $350 million in dividends to all the celebrity owners because they tried to go public last year and they didn't get a good enough valuation. So they ended up backing out of that. Mm-hmm. And so they were trying to push to all their private owners these huge dividends. And it's like, what? Are you kidding me? And now you kind of see that there's probably this whole larger picture here where they're trying to keep their backers comfortable because the parent company's under so much debt. Because the thing is, like I was reading about Endeavor, they really only popped up. I think they started in like 2011. I want to say they're not an old company, but they just bought out a ton of other companies, including the UFC, for $4 billion.
So they spent a lot. They spent too much money.
They're all in debt. It's all debt. Like that's how they built their media empire, was through debt, and now it's catching up to them. And that's why you're like wondering, okay, is their biggest horse in the race, the UFC, pushing these events right now because they need the income throughout the year?
I would think that ESPN's got to be a huge moneymaker for them after the ESPN deal, and they have big sponsors. It's not like the days of what was that drink that they were always sponsored by back in the day when they first came up? It was something like energy drink. It started with like an X or something.
I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
But they used to have some like weird sponsors, like Mickey's was one of theirs, like that fucking weird ass drink.
Mickey's was a sponsor of theirs.
Condom Depot.
They got
Car was a sponsor of theirs.
They have Modelo. They got Harley Davidson now. They get all these like new games or movies coming out that are always sponsoring.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just interesting. It's just another aspect to think about it. I mean, I hope they're not struggling as much. I mean, obviously they are if their credit rating went down like that, but hopefully it's not dire for them. But it's just something interesting to think about. And I will make one other comment too. The other thing I was reading about when I was kind of digging into all that information, I got kind of pissed about, and we talk about it all the time, is fighter pay, right? And they were talking about why everybody was getting pissed about like $350 million in dividends that were going to go out to the celebrity owners for for Endeavor.
People like Mark Wahlberg and Tom Brady.
Exactly. So
who don't need that money.
And here's the reason why, is because they say those other sports like the NFL and MLB, they estimate that 50% of their revenues, literally half of their revenues, go to player salaries.
Yeah, that's part of their collective bargaining agreements.
Yeah, so you know what the UFC fighters, what percentage they get?
13% or something, isn't it? Something like
they estimated about 16-17%.
Yeah.
Is that not insane?
It's crazy.
Whatever, but that's a whole another story. It's just one of those things that kind of pop up. I thought it was very interesting. Maybe it'll be something to keep an eye on going forward, but either way, I will say this though, even though the pay-per-views are a little bit more expensive, you're getting your money for this one.
Yeah.
UFC 249 is going to be incredible. Apparently they're pulling out all the stops to make sure the fighters are protected, that they're tested before and after. Everybody's keeping their distance. The boxing commission is going to make sure everything's good to go, everything's kosher. So we're just excited. This card, top to bottom, is going to be insane. So the other thing I will say before we kind of jump into this as well is we might be splitting this podcast out into two parts depending on how long it is, because I know nobody wants to sit through a 2-hour long podcast.
It's going longer than that.
So it'll be long. So we are going to split this out
for longer.
Yeah, we've done a lot less for longer because we usually don't cover the early prelims. We don't cover the prelims as far as like fight breakdowns go. But this one's just stacked. Like Dana White wanted to make sure he came back with a bang and put together probably one of the best cards in UFC history. Exactly. And so that's why we're going to touch on pretty much every fight. Actually, I think we are going to touch on every fight. So that being said, this is part one. I'll put it in the comments where everything is as far as where you can find it. And then part two, we'll see where we cut off at here, see how long we go on and tail on. So before we jump into the card, gentlemen, any other words, news notes, anything like that?
No, I think you covered everything.
Awesome.
Let's rock and roll.
Cool. The only other thing I'll say about Fight Island, apparently that's still going. There's infrastructure still building out for that. The plan, I think, for Fight Island, for those of you that don't know, Dana White bought or rent a private island to hold UFC fights on. Yes, it sounds as crazy as it is because it is. The infrastructure still being built out, and I think the future plan for that is for it to only be for international fight cards. Every country is going to be opening up differently, different laws, rules, whatever it is. So they're going to do that on Fight Island. And then for at least the next little while, I think he was saying that a lot of these events are going to be happening in Jacksonville. I know the next 3 are guaranteed, 249, and then the 2 events following that the next week.
May 13th and 16th.
Yeah.
If they could pull it off in the late fall or early fall. Ferguson and Khabib. I think I'll probably pay for Fight Island if they could pull that one off.
It won't happen in the fall.
Yeah,
because Khabib has Ramadan.
Yeah.
Yes. Starting this month is it? Or next month?
Last month in April. It was in April.
To August?
Something like that, I think
and then
it
he
is.
needs training camp, obviously. I think October's early, so he can fight.
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine not eating and training the way he trains. That's insane. All right, let's jump into it. UFC 249 stacked card. We're going to start with the early prelims because there's a lot of good fights on here. We're going to go in sequential order, so we're going to do the very first fight. Again, so we're recording this. It is Saturday, May 2nd, so sometimes there will be a little bit of change in the order and stuff as you get closer.
I think this is probably what it's going to be.
It probably is.
Unless somebody drops out.
But unless it gets canceled.
Dan, you get out of here. You're done.
I'll knock on wood. No,
it's too late. I'm deleting him. He's getting out of here. See, you lost. You made me lose my train of thought. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say sometimes the order changes or maybe a fight or two drops out. So I'm just saying at the time of this recording, this is going to be the order of the fights. So the first one we're going to open up with is the biggest odd differential as far as Vegas odd goes, and that's going to be with Ryan Spann versus Sam Alvey at light heavyweight. So let's throw it over to Sean. What do you think about this fight?
I think it's a nice fight to start off the night, but I as far as the matchups go from top to bottom, this is probably one of the least, or I wouldn't say the least, but one of the lesser interesting fights. Because Ryan Spann's a contender series guy. He's had some nice performances, but I don't see him as a serious contender in the division. And Sam Alvey, he's just kind of that stepping stone. He's a gatekeeper type that fights up and coming guys. Doesn't really excel at any one area. Kind of well rounded, but I think it's just a nice fight. It's like a warm up.
Yeah,
I think it's in a good spot for this card.
Oh, definitely is. Yeah. Dan, you have any comments before I go off?
I probably agree with Sean. He did have a pretty good entrance, a big segue coming into the Contender Series. I think that was his knockout of Nogueira and his standing choke of Devin Clark, his past fight. I think he's going to come in a hot streak. I mean, he's already coming in on a hot streak. I think Sam Alvey, same thing like you said, Sean. He's just going to be a good stepping stone. I don't know if this is going to be a catapult anywhere, but I'm excited to see where Ryan Spann goes, kind of in that top 15 to 20 fighters. He's a bit exciting. He's got a heavy right hand. I'm excited for the fight. I think it's going to be a good fight. Sam Alvey always comes moving forward. He always brings it, but I honestly think Ryan Spann's going to put him to sleep, though.
A little quick note: Sam Alvey is the heavy version of Donald Cerrone, pretty much. His willingness to fight. I mean, he's not
he comes in for a brawl.
I wouldn't say he's as exciting as Donald.
No,
but he's game to fight, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely agree with you guys where, I think this is the young gun versus the stepping stone and Sam Alvey. But I think Ryan Spann's going to absolutely maul Sam Alvey. He looks huge. To think that he's a light heavyweight, he's 6'5", and he looks like an NFL athlete, I would say, especially when you're talking about that division. Then you look at a guy like, Sam Alvey. He's not a small guy. He's, I think, 6'1", 6'2". So he's not small, but when you look at their physiques next to each other, and Ryan Spann is a strong guy, you see that he has a good reach advantage on him. But the funny thing is, Ryan doesn't know how to use his. He's been developing his boxing a lot, and that's where Sam's going to have his advantage because he's a good counter striker. He's very experienced, so we'll see if he's able to use that experience. I just don't think so. I think Ryan Spann's going to maul him. He's a lot bigger. He's a lot stronger. I think it's going to wear on probably maybe mid-second round into the third round. I could see Ryan finishing him, but if not...
Yeah, I definitely think... I mean... This is kind of one of those fights that we always talk about where they're trying to just basically build up their contender, right? They're trying to get him confidence. It's a name. It's a guy who's fought a lot of known fighters in the UFC. He's had a lot of fights. Try to get him in there. He can be finished.
Yeah.
Get his confidence going.
Yeah.
I think that's what this is pretty much. It's just one of those boost him ups.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, that'll be interesting is Ryan does like to wrestle and grapple, which I always find weird for guys that are so much taller than everybody else in the division and has a reach advantage.
In the UFC, very rare you see somebody that can really utilize their length.
Yeah, it is true. It is, and that
comes from
that's
elite
a technique.
striker. Like elite strikers can do it, but
for sure.
You know, like the Adesanyas, the Silvas, John Jones was always good at that. He's having trouble with that lately, but
yeah. Well, he's fighting guys his size now a lot more often. But but I think that this one is a fun one. I think that's a good point. This one actually I think is probably something you would see on a prelim, not an early prelim.
Yeah.
So you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck for a free card or a free fight down here. Any other final thoughts before we go look over at the Vegas odds?
No, I think we're all on the same page. I think we're all going with Ryan Spann, so we're lined up with the Vegas odds. So I think we're good.
Oh, hold on. Actually, I got to make sure I put all of our picks in because we started tracking that, and we've only, of course, as soon as we started tracking it, we've only done one, and then all the fights started getting postponed. So everybody picks Spann, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, Vegas also picks him. He's the minus 450. Minus 450 to Sam Alvey's plus 325.
Hey, man, you got a few bucks you want to throw away. It might be worth it.
Yeah, throw on Sam Alvey.
Because Sam Alvey, he could be the guy that would rise to the occasion every now and again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely. I'm not saying that there's no path here for Sam Alvey. There definitely is.
I will say, we'll obviously get into all the odds later, but this has been the best fights to bet on from the fight odds, because usually you get just such crappy odds because they don't really know anybody.
Yeah.
But there's some interesting odds on this fight card.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I mean, we'll get to them obviously all.
And I think to your point, like if you had to pick a dark horse, this probably is not a bad fight. I think this one and the next one we're going to go into are not bad ones to pick the dark horse, but this one more so because the odds are so spread. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one to kick it off, and then let's get into the next one. It's going to be Bryce Mitchell versus Charles Rosa.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a grappler's battle here. Bryce Mitchell, I think he's another Contender Series guy. I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Thug Nasty, which is a weird nickname for a dude who's super hick. Like he really sells it. I think he's from Arkansas, right? He's the one who he asked for camo shorts from Reebok. After he won one of his fights, he's like, Reebok, make me some camo shorts. And I think they did.
Oh.
But, yeah, it's just two submission guys. I think if you're a grappling fan, this will be a good one.
Yeah. I definitely do. Bryce Mitchell, we were talking about this earlier, got the submission of the year for his
twister.
Had a twister in the first round.
For anybody who doesn't know much about jiu-jitsu, I don't know much about jiu-jitsu, but I know this: a twister don't come around often.
No, it doesn't. I mean, was it Leonard Garcia? No, it wasn't Leonard Garcia. I think it was on Leonard Garcia. Was it Korean Zombie that
it might have been
that did the first
Korean
one?
Zombie had one.
Yeah, he did it. He was the first one to do it. That comes from
is that Eddie Bravo's?
Yep, Eddie Bravo. That's an Eddie Bravo move. That was picked up and thrown into the UFC, and man, that's a wild submission to get. Oh, whoops. But I think that this is going to be fun, man. I want to see some good grapplers. Both these guys are black belts in jiu-jitsu. Charles Rosa, I think, is a guy that's a little bit better, like all-around fighter. He's been in the UFC longer, more experienced.
Bryce Mitchell's the ascending fighter, though.
Exactly. He's the ascending fighter. He's a young buck. I think he's like 25.
He's 12-1.
Yeah, so he's going to be the one for you to watch, but I'm looking forward to this battle because you want to see some high level grappling. Usually you see that from the smaller guys, so I'm excited to watch this
a little
fight.
bit more tenacity in the wrestling and high pace, and you'll see a lot of transitions. And
the transitions are the best.
Yeah,
when you're watching good transitions.
We've talked about it since we've done this podcast, like the amount of scrambles you see these days. Like good scrambles is like so much more than when we started first watching the sport.
Yeah. Because you got a lot of guys that can do, like, they do the wrestling sit outs and stuff like that, and they're doing. It's not as many sweeps. I don't feel like. I feel like it's a lot more of time transitions.
When we first started watching back in the days, guys were always looking for sweeps or like hip escapes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these guys now are realizing, like, you got to scramble, you got to make it, you got to work for it, you got to make your opponent maybe overcommit to a position and get out. Yeah,
and I think I think it fits the UFC or MMA mold more so. to have some more of those wrestling moves when you're doing grappling, even when you're using your jiu-jitsu, to have some more of those wrestling moves, because you don't have all the clothes, you don't have the gi on that you can grab and keep a guy close. So when you can watch some high-level grappling, man, it's so fun, because you could just watch these people thinking. They're always transitioning. They're thinking 3 steps ahead. Maybe they're faking, they're going for a Kimura, but that's not what they're really looking for. They're really looking for you to move a certain way, so that way they can transition off of you. They can sit out. They can get back to their feet, or they can get behind you. It's fun to watch high level grappling. Hopefully we could see that in this fight, and at a high pace too, like you said too. Like, because on the other hand too, you don't want to see guys that are just kind of sitting there, one in another's guard,
just looking one position at a time.
Exactly, or they're just sitting in guard,
just half guard.
Yeah,
and,
sit it out.
Shots.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll see that from these guys. I'm excited to watch this one. Again, to your point, Bryce Mitchell, rising contender. This is definitely a test for him and Charles Rosa. Charles Rosa, good all-around fighter. He's developed his stand-up lately to go with his ground game. So we're going to see. Let's go to... go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
I just found it funny because on the Vegas odds, they have Bryce Mitchell, being a favorite. But if you look at the stats on UFC, Charles Rosa has way better grappling, percentages and significant strike percentages over Bryce Mitchell. So I'm excited to see this fight, as you both said. I think the ground game and the grappling game is going to be quite fun to watch.
I think that can also come from Charles Rosa's had more UFC fights, so I think he's got
more
stats to pad those.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is you got to think, like, just because you might get a few more takedowns average throughout a fight, I mean, if you look at a guy like Gregor Gillespie, right? Mm-hmm. When he takes you down, you're not getting back up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There's going to be guys where you can get back up and they'll take you down, you get back up. So it kind of boosts those stats. So, I mean, it's impressive.
The stats never tell the whole story.
Exactly.
They don't lie, but they don't tell the whole story.
Yeah, exactly. Stats never lie, but they don't tell the whole story. So, I mean, so that could be part of the case too with Bryce Mitchell. Is that's his thing. Is once he gets you down on the ground, he's keeping you there. He's suffocating you. He's making you suffer for letting him take you there. So, but I mean, still good point. Looking forward to this fight. Let's go back and look at the UFC fight odds. Dan, do you have those up? Oh, I'd have them right here. Never mind. All right, sorry.
The Bravado. So
yeah,
they got Bryce Mitchell at -160 and Charles Rose at a +130.
Yep. So Bryce Mitchell, to your point, is the favorite here. Again, I think that comes from him being the guy that the ascending fighter, the guy that they see potentially going for a title shot in the next few years. So awesome. All right, Sean, do you want to introduce us to our next fight?
Yeah, Ryan and I had a long discussion about this before we went live, even before we talked to Dan. How this fight is on Fight Pass blows our mind, because our hometown guy that we always talk about, Nico Price, who's just the wildest motherfucker that you've ever watched fight. He's wilder than Clay Guida. The knockouts this guy gets is just insane, but he's fighting a fucking dog in Vicente Luque, who does nothing. The only thing he wants to do is knock you the F out.
He's a mauler.
Yeah. For anybody who can watch any of his fights, go back and watch his fight with Ryan Barberena, and you'll know everything you need to know about Vicente Luque.
Yeah, and so I think Nico Price is 13-3. I think he's 13-3. One of those losses came from Luque. Yeah, this is a rematch.
Which Vicente won by a submission, but all of Nico's losses have come to good fighters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Zach Al Hassan, who looks like the
monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has 10 or 11 wins, and they're all first-round knockouts.
Yeah, and he lost to Geoff Neal is the other one who's heavy-handed hand.
Who just knocked out Mike Perry. He's flatlined Mike Perry, which I didn't think was possible, because I thought Mike Perry was like the Diaz brothers, where he was so dumb that he couldn't be knocked out. Like his brain just wouldn't register pain.
Geoff Neal's a real dude, though, at that weight division, too. So,
which actually, he had success against Geoff. The only thing is he couldn't stop the wrestling.
Yeah.
He was winning the stand-up. Yeah. He was hurting him. He was baiting him into these wild exchanges, and that he was winning because he's longer and he's kind of lanky, and
Geoff Neal,
weird angles.
And Geoff Neal relies on that straight, that nice, crisp, clean punching,
very
and that's
technical.
Yeah. But the thing is, fighting Vicente Luque, he's a guy that can swing wild. He can fight wild too,
and he
stands in front of you.
Forward,
exactly.
He's like the old shoot the box kind of guys, where he just like Vanderlei.
Yes.
Like, he's like, if you hit me once, I'm going to hit you twice. So. think twice
he
about
has
it.
great counter strikes. I noticed that he has like a really great
He's very
inside right hook.
as
He's taken out a couple of guys that he finished on the ground after that.
he can get wild, but in exchanges he can still stay technical, and that's where he's gotten some knockouts.
Yeah, and he does. I think he has some nice crisp boxing, and he throws some heavy shots too. He'll sit inside the pocket and he'll wait for his timing to put his moves back on you. And I mean, he's done a great job. Real quick, if I can go back into these guys' records real quick, but both these guys
I
are.
think he's coming off the loss of Wonder Boy, right? Has he rebounded with a win since then? I don't remember.
No, he hasn't.
Which that was a good fight. I mean,
Yeah.
Wonder Boy just was too elusive, which he is for pretty much everybody.
Steven looked on his freaking game.
Yeah, which he knew. He like when Wonder Boy knows he's in danger, he's on point with his movement.
Yeah,
Willie only caught him because Willie lulled him into a boring, kind of staring at each other, and then we would explode every now and again.
Yeah, but before that, I mean, he beat Perry in the fight
was a great
before
fight.
that. Yeah, he beat Brian Barberina.
fight,
That
the
one
fight-
was wild. That one was good.
Nuts.
He beat Turner, who's a good guy that's coming up.
Cold.
Oh yeah, he
he
knocked
puts
him
Turner
out. But Luque's a beast either way. And then
Nico.
they fought. So
I think he lost to Leon Edwards. So
yeah,
I mean,
he did. He lost. To
He's
Leon
another guy.
Edwards.
Like his losses in the UFC have come to good fighters. Like
Great
Leon
fighters.
Edwards is a title contender. Wonder Boy, 2-time title contender.
Yeah.
Who else? I think he's lost to a couple other guys. I want to say maybe that came before.
Yeah.
Beat Bilal Muhammad.
Yep. So
Yes, he did. He knocked him out clean.
yeah. So there's both these guys are a ton of fun to freaking watch, and it's just crazy that this is going to be on the undercard.
This fight should be on the main.
This is a
pay-per-view.
firework. Yeah, absolutely. This is a firework
Please
of a
tune
fight.
in. If you have Fight Pass, stream it. I don't give a fuck if the UFC watches. Stream it. Please, for the love of God, watch this fight.
Yeah, seriously. This one's
It's
going to be a fun
great
one.
fight. I think
There's-
Nico's definitely coming in swinging for the fences with this one.
But, and you know what?
Really be like that person that goes, "Oh, this is like I can't miss." Like, there's no way this fight will be boring because sometimes when you say that, it ends up being terrible. There's no way this fight's boring.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that this fight should be over Olenek versus Werdum?
Absolutely, because nobody cares about Verdum anymore.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing.
This is his first fight in like 2 or 3
There's
years.
to me, I would put this fight on the prelim and change this out for Olenek and Werdum.
You know, honestly, I could even see them putting Uriah Hall versus Jacare as a Fight Pass like main fight. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, Jacare is not what he once was, but it's still like a good enough matchup.
Yeah.
That like you can entice people to watch the Fight Pass.
Yeah. Either way, that's what I'm saying. Like
You guys need to be in front of everybody.
Exactly.
And they're not.
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
I'm
I
not
think
saying
both
that
of
because
these.
Nico's one of our boys, because Vicente Luque is one of our
Yeah,
boys
but
too.
we like Vicente Luque. That dude's wild too. I mean, both these guys. This is gonna be a firework of a fight. Even their first fight was fun to watch. It was bloody. Vincent Luque got the better of him on the feet. He really put it on Nico, and that's how he ended up getting the submission. But either way, this one's gonna be a fun one. Let's see what Vegas has. I'm going
This is
over.
the big odds, I believe.
No, this one's actually pretty close. Or wait, maybe not. It's moved on me.
Oh, it just moved. It was at the bottom before. Yeah, this is one of the bigger
Oh
odds.
yeah, so Vicente Luque is the minus 280 favorite to Nico Price's plus 220.
Yeah. Hey man, never count out Nico Price. He can get knockouts in weird positions. He's got an up kick knockout and one where he was
Hammer fist
hammer
from
fist
a weird
from the
angle.
bottom.
Yeah, so it's weird. He gets weird angles on you and can knock you out.
He's creative, man.
He's very creative
never
on his
safe.
feet. Very creative on his feet,
on his
and
back.
off his back too. But either way, I think that this is another one that we talked about, a dark horse fight. If you're looking for one of those, maybe you're putting a DraftKings lineup together, or you're just looking for, something that you want to bet big on.
Man, I forgot about
This is-
DraftKings. They got to be excited this is going on.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, money
bringing back
again.
DraftKings. We got to jump back on there.
Yeah, I forgot about DraftKings.
Yeah. Either way, ton of fun. Who does everybody have? I don't think we talked about
I got
that.
Luque, man. I think Luque's just going to be too crisp. He's got the better chin. That's what I'm taking.
Whoops.
Better technique and chin.
Dan, what do you
I'm
got?
going with Nico. I'm going with Nico Price. I think they're gonna stay on the ground. I mean, I think they're gonna stay standing up, and I think Nico's gonna catch him. I think he's coming way more prepared, being that he has access to watch his previous fight with him, and a couple of fights after that. I think he's gonna come in and take the win on this one.
Yeah. Well, I said before, so I'm going to stick to my guns on this one. I said that I'd always pick Nico for it. So
Let's go.
I'm picking Price, baby. I'm
Just
picking
because
Price.
I'm picking Luque don't mean I won't be happy if Nico wins.
Oh, I know. We're big Price
Picking
fans.
with my
so.
brain instead of my heart, even though I love Luque just as much. Well, not just as much, but I love Luque.
Yeah,
well.
Luque is a dog, man. One of those ones that's hard to pick. Anyways, that is just, guys, that's just the early prelims on Fight Pass. That's just the early prelims that we're talking about. So again, you do have to access that. You do have to have, or you have to pay for Fight Pass. They usually do, I think, Fight Pass for free. Don't they? They do like a like a trial.
I think you can get Fight Pass for cheap for a month if you buy ESPN, the pay-per-view through ESPN. Maybe something. They usually do some kind of deal if you buy the pay-per-view and you don't have Fight Pass.
Oh, okay.
I think.
And I want to do, and I do want to say, I think that they usually have a trial period open too. So for all those people that usually don't have it,
go on the internet and find a stream.
I like that. That's your answer for all of it.
I don't care. It's a crime that these two dog motherfuckers are fighting on Fight
on the
Pass.
early prelim. Yeah, I know.
The other two guys,
Yeah,
the other two fights, I mean, they're good
point-
fights, but I mean, I don't really care.
I think to your point earlier, a lot more people are going to be tuning in either which way because, we're pretty much the only sport out here running as of right now against, WWE, and then you said NASCAR earlier. So I think people are going to channel in either which way. And like you said, you could stream it if you don't have fights.
I don't think the Fight Pass would do great just because people are going to be spending so much money as it is on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, you got to think. A lot of people are struggling right now. A lot of people are saving money. And then on top, and then look at the example we're going to be looking at here. You're paying $10 for Fight Pass. You get the ESPN prelims for free, which is 4 fights that we're about to get into.
ESPN Plus, right? No, that's on ESPN.
It's on ESPN and ESPN Plus.
Okay.
And then the main card you'll pay $65 for. So you're looking at potentially, if you don't have Fight Pass already, you're looking at a 75. Actually,
80 if you buy HD, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you gotta get HD if you got a 4K.
No, I can't. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're spending a lot of money.
Gotta
So
see those fucking seats in the crowd empty.
yeah, you gotta see all those shiny seats in the background
see
for sure.
The specks of blood.
Oh my god, dude! I don't know. It's gonna be weird watching an empty because I never ended up getting to watch the Kevin Lee fight.
It wasn't bad, honestly, watching it with no fans.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll see.
Weird. It was different, but
I didn't even notice the difference, to be honest, in that Kevin Lee versus Oliveira fight.
I feel like it'd be noticeable if you were to watch like a Conor McGregor fight because it's always so electric, the atmosphere. But
yeah. Oh, he won't be coming back until there's fans in those seats.
I don't know. It depends on what they think. If it's gonna clear up soon, maybe not. But if they think it's gonna be a long-lasting thing where they won't be able to get butts and seats, they're gonna. If Endeavor needs money, Conor McGregor's fighting.
Do you think Conor McGregor will fight Masvidal?
Absolutely.
Do you think they'll fight in Florida?
Absolutely. Dude, all right. So
That Miami-Dade card.
we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later because we're already starting on the fight card. I don't want to get sidetracked because we're really bad at that. So relax. Next fight. So kicking off the first because we'll go into a deep rabbit hole.
All right.
We'll need another podcast for that.
Okay.
Kicking off the ESPN prelims is a good fight. Not a overly like, oh my god, I have to see this. But Uriah Hall fighting Jacare, it's a nice fight. It's two middleweights, two well-known guys who are finishers, a little bit different styles. Jacare can strike, but this more Uriah Hall's thing. He's the creative type of striker, karate style. Jacare is a motherfucker on the ground, though.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's pretty funny. He's been standing with a lot of guys because I think he has gotten crisper boxing later in his career. But, I mean, his roots are in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's one of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys in the UFC. I mean, they don't call him Gator for nothing.
Yeah,
so,
that's what Jacare means in Portuguese, by the way.
What's that?
Gator. Jacare.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was because it was like a gator roll,
know,
like wrapping him up. That's why I always just assumed that was his nickname.
Yeah, it is. I was saying Jacare translates to alligator.
Oh, I gotcha.
For people who don't know.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
That's why he.
No, No, you lost me. That was my confusion there. Apparently, the whiskey's hit my brain.
You're still on the Conor McGregor basketball thing. Get off it.
Okay. Sorry. Uriah Hall and Jacare, look, see, I'm losing it. And Jacare can be a fun fight. To be honest, this could also turn into...
I think this has potential, we'll say a dark horse, but in the bad way, of being kind of a snoozer-ish type fight.
Because the thing about Uriah Hall is, so he has the guy is incredibly athletic. He looks athletic.
He looks to be the next Anderson Silva.
Yeah, absolutely. He's incredibly athletic. He's so fast. He has a beautiful jab. He has one of the best jabs in the UFC, I think, personally. His his spinning kicks are his spinning kick techniques are beautiful.
It's just like it's thrown like a jab.
Yeah, I mean, he moves like a welterweight or a lightweight, and I mean, he's a monster of a human being. Yeah, and I love him as an athlete. He's had a weird up and down career, and he gets stagnant.
This guy who's just never been able to put it together mentally.
You can tell he has trouble reading sometimes. Like he has trouble reading the fight, and if you get him off track, I think, and that's where Jacare's wrestling and his ability to submit you, I think, is really going to come into play here. Is because that's Uriah Hall's going to have to think about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think the question here is, for me, if I was Souza's coach, I'd be telling him, you need to take this against the cage, or you need to put his ass on the mat.
I would say, dude, if you want a knockout, use your wrestling to set it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Start with the wrestling, wear him down a little bit, get his eyes looking down, and then you can start striking.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is Uriah Hall can get tired.
Yeah,
we've seen it before.
He's all muscle. So.
Yeah, he can get tired. He can get worn out, especially with Jacare being able to suffocate him.
Jacare gets tired too, though.
But
Uriah Hall has pretty good takedown defense, so honestly it all depends. I mean, they both of them have heavy hands, but as you said, Jacare has definitely the submission power, but Uriah Hall's takedown defense is pretty high, so I think it's going to be a good fight, but. Like you said, if Souza can lean him against the cage, tire him out, Uriah Hall is definitely going to lose and either get submitted or knocked out. But
the thing
it could go either way. It depends.
Yeah, the thing going back to Ryan's point though is if he gets him down, he can control him. Not saying Uriah would quit, but his mind would start going to a bad place. Like, oh shit, maybe I'm losing, and then maybe he tries to do something that he shouldn't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's and the thing with Uriah Hall, the thing with Uriah Hall though that always makes him exciting, and you have to watch him is he can any moment he can knock a guy out. Like there's fights
when he fought Gegard Mousasi.
Oh my god,
Gegard was just controlling him. He wasn't really beating him up, but he was wrestling him, controlling him. And all of a sudden, he throws a spinning kick to what was supposed to be to the body, but he threw it as Gegard was shooting for a takedown and connected straight on the chin and knocked him out.
Absolutely, and that's what Uriah Hall presents in these matchups. So he's exciting to watch. You have to watch him, and Souza's exciting too, man. He's not what he was for some reason after he actually has the
two guy though.
He has the MLB disease where you got a guy that signs a big contract and then they just don't ever show up for it. Because he did that originally. Like he was on the cusp of like really being a contender, and then he signed that big UFC
deal. And then they're like, "Well, dude, we're gonna give you Robert Whitaker, who wasn't who everybody thought he was at that time." Yep. Like. And then he can have a title shot. And then Robert Whitaker destroyed him, and everybody's like,
"Oh my!" Yeah, but he still had some pretty good wins after that. I mean, he beat Tim Bosch, Vitor Belfort, Brunson, Gastelum.
Oh no! He lost to Gastelum.
He's still a pretty. I would still say he's a vet in the game. So I definitely wouldn't bat an eyelash at Jacare Souza. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be a top contender, but he still puts on a great fight, man.
He lost to Gastelum.
I thought he beat Gastelum.
No. But people think he did. I don't think he did. I think because he kind of quit in the third. He was winning that fight, but he kind of quit in the third round. He gassed out and he didn't throw any punches. And the Weidman fight, if I remember, Weidman I think was winning that fight.
I don't remember.
Because I know we watched that.
But Souza came through. No, and Souza won the Gastelum fight back in 2018. Souza won that by decision against Gastelum. He lost his last two fights. One was against Hermanson, and the other one was against the Poland head. But he was Gastelum.
You were breaking up there. You were breaking up there about who he beat.
Oh no! So I apologize. So he beat Gastelum. He beat Weidman after that, and then he lost his last two fights against.
Were you saying that he beat Gastelum because Sherdog has him losing to Gastelum?
So on UFC. So it was Whitaker. He lost. Then he won against Bronson. It was a TKO in round one. Then he beat Gastelum in a decision. And then Weidman he beat in a KO. And then he lost to Hermanson.
Everything I'm seeing says Gastelum won. So I wouldn't trust the UFC website because they're pretty bad.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to shit on you. I'm just saying, like, I know.
No. Of course.
Yeah, because even USA Today has Gastelum winning over Jacare. Because I remember
maybe they overturned it.
It was kind of a controversy decision for a lot of people. Yeah. It was one of those.
Yeah, I'm looking up too.
The UFC website's terrible. That's like
Yeah,
my last resort. I don't like to go.
I'm seeing MMA Junkie.
For all you fight fans know, UFC is not a good resource to call.
The last place you want to go to for information is the UFC.
On UFC, don't go to the UFC.
Go to MMA Junkie is a good one. They're fine.
Sure Dog. I love Sure Dog. That like when I'm doing fight research for our podcast, Sure Dog's one of the places I go. But either way, we're not saying like Souza's
he's got fight left.
Yeah, he's got fight. He's a dog, man.
These are the kind of fights
and Uriah Hall.
Those,
exactly. And Uriah Hall's a guy that's been around for a long time. This is a good matchup.
Yeah.
Again, I would just say Uriah Hall, great athlete, great spinning back kicks. Great kicks, period, and he has a very, very, very crisp, beautiful, fast jab. So I'd watch for that.
If you want to watch one of the best jabs in the UFC, watch his fight against Paulo Costa. Even though he lost that fight, that first round, dude, it was popping it. Like, you would have thought this dude was like a world-class boxer, the way he's popping that thing. He's kind of had it down. He had like a little shoulder shake. He's like, bam, bam. He was moving beautiful, too.
So let's go to the picks, man. Sean, we've been starting with you. Who do you got?
Jacare. You just can't trust Uriah Hall, I don't think. I think he's one of those guys you just can't really trust to pick him.
Yeah. Dan, who do you got?
Well, I mean, based on the Bovada Vegas, odds, Souza's a minus 125, Uriah Hall's a minus 105. Honestly, I'm going to probably go with Souza. I think he's probably going to put him to the cage, wear him out, and either submit him or knock him out. So I'm going with Souza.
Yeah, I'm actually doing that same thing too. I'm going to go with Souza. I think he's going to be able to control the fight, and that's going to be really the tail of the tape for this one is whether or not he can control it. If he does, I don't even think it's close. I think Souza's going to go for a decision here. So, and Dan, can you go ahead and read those odds again, please, since you have them up already?
Yeah, of course. So we had Souza at a minus 125. And Uriah Hall at a minus 105 on Bovado.
Oh, man, that's a razor close. That's not even worth throwing money down. And that's about right.
What we're going to end up walking into is a razor close fight. I don't think anybody's going to weigh out anybody else.
That's probably one of those fights that Vegas didn't really know who to pick, and nobody's throwing money on it, so they're just like, fuck it. Pick them.
Possibility.
Yeah,
Possibility.
Really.
I mean, if nobody's throwing money on it, I don't think they're really going to bother.
No, absolutely
not for that fight, at least.
All right. Sean, you want to bring us into the second one?
Probably the least interesting fight on the card, and I'm not saying just because it's women, mostly just because it's Carla Esparza, but she's fighting the Karate Hade, who's got one of the best nicknames in the game, Michelle Watterson, versus one of the worst nicknames in the games, Carla the Cookie Monster Esparza.
I know that doesn't really incite fear and
classic, wrestler versus striker. Michelle Watterson, great karate, great stand-up game. Coming out of Jackson Wink, she's going to be well coached against Carlos Esparza, who basically just wrestles.
Yeah. Michelle's had trouble with wrestlers in the past, though.
Yeah, strikers do usually when they come from, because she's coming from straight karate background.
Yeah, she's coming from a straight karate background. She has developed in the last few years. She has a height advantage here, but Carla has a ton of experience. Yeah. She's fought the best of the best in this division for a long time.
And she held the title.
She held the title.
She was the first strawweight champion. Right?
Yeah, she was. She was the one that she lost to JJ, and that's when JJ started her initial reign.
She beat Rose at the Ultimate Fighter to win.
Did she beat Rose?
I believe it's Rose.
Is that what it was? Either way, Carla's been around the game for a long time, so
Michelle used to fight at a lighter weight class, so she's fighting since she got to the UFC. She's fighting up a weight class. Yeah. She used to fight at atom weight in Invicta.
Yeah, she made that jump, I think, a little while ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, but either way,
she's had some good fights.
She's a lot of fun to watch. Carla Esparza is kind of your typical wrestler when you look into that degree.
She's not really looking to ground and pound. She's more looking for control.
Yeah, exactly. She's looking for control. So it really depends on how this one goes. We're gonna have to see. Michelle's gonna have to keep her distance. Like if she wants to win this fight. Yeah. I think that'll be. It's going to actually now saying it out loud. It's going to be a lot like the first fight is who can control their game plan going into this, because Carla's not going to want to stand and bang unless she gets off the jump and she tags her in the beginning of the fight. She's going to want to grapple with her and take her down and pressure her, because that's where Michelle's weakest. Why would you not want to? And on the other hand, Michelle's going to want to use that height advantage, that reach advantage, and try and pop her and stay in and out
I think she's just
of distance.
Look for pop shots.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I also think her footwork will probably keep Carla at a distance. Michelle Waterson's really good with her feet. I think if she can, keep her with the side kicks, and just keep her with leg kicks, inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks, I think she'll probably keep Carla Esparza at bay. And I can't say that Michelle Waterson is terrible with her hands. So I feel like if she could really use her footwork, I think she'll hold Carla Esparza off at bay and she'll start tagging her.
The one thing though is if Michelle uses a lot of kicks, that's just opening opportunities to get taken down.
For sure.
Yeah, so I don't know.
It's a give and take, because honestly, like, the only other way to stop a wrestler too is to beat their legs into oblivion. So,
but she's got to be able to mix it up. She can't just telegraph leg kicks, because then she's going to look for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I feel like Michelle throws very unorthodox kicks, whether they're switch kicks, front kicks. I think she's really great with her feet, and being that Carla's not really great with her hands, she's a great wrestler. I'm leaning a little bit towards more Michelle and being able to own the octagon and cut the ring, cut the octagon, and keep in charge of the fight.
One thing that you see from wrestlers in this types of fights is, even if they don't necessarily grab the limb, even if they can just slow their opponent down or trip them up, or make them hesitate for a second and be able to close distance, that's usually where these strikers get in trouble in these types of fights.
And I will say, Carla Esparza did just beat Alexa Grasso, who I think is one of the best boxers in that division. Yeah, she has beautiful boxing, and she just beat her, I think, back in the fall. So I mean, she's coming in with that. But then again, to your point though, Michelle does bring obviously that lower body in. She brings in those kicks and stuff like that, and that unorthodox movement that comes from a karate background. So it'll be interesting. Again, this is literally going to be whoever can impose their game plan on the other. Can Carla grab her, press her against the fence? Can she take her down to the ground? Or is Michelle going to be able to keep her distance, pop her with either, to Dan's point, those front leg kicks, those teep kicks, those side kicks, and then pop her with the jab. So to me, this is going to be all about who imposes their game plan, which brings us to Sean. Who do you think imposes it?
I think Michelle gets it done. I think she's due for a big win.
Yeah, she definitely is. I don't think, has she really had like a super...
Paige Van Zandt's her biggest win. Which doesn't.
Which I was gonna say that doesn't equate to much right now. Paige
I'm trying to think who she. Oh, Rose beat her.
Yeah,
beat her up pretty good too.
So you picked Michelle on here. Dan, who do you got?
I'm going with Waterston as well. I think she's going to be able to own the octagon, keeping her distance with the kicks. So I think she's going to pull it out, and she needs a definitely big win over this in this fight.
Yeah, and that's the exact reason why I'm actually going to go with Carla on this one. Is I just don't think Michelle's been able to pick out like the big win. She hasn't been able to pick out like that like notable. Yeah, she hasn't been able to rise to the occasion. She hasn't got that like trophy on her wall, so to speak, for the UFC, where it's like, this is my big notable.
And be like, all right, I can build.
She's
from
the
this.
next. Yeah, exactly. And so that's where I think Carla's going to be able to impose her game plan. She has a lot more experience in MMA, and she has that game plan that would work against Michelle.
Means something.
Yeah, exactly, and she was
Rose,
a champ.
Is no joke. I mean, I know that was early in Rose's career, but she still beat her.
Exactly. So let's go ahead. Let's look at the fight odds for this one.
Close.
It's a pretty close one. Carla Esparza is the favorite at -160 to Michelle Waterson's plus 130.
Picking the wrestler.
Yeah, which I kind of thought too. Yeah, especially with she's coming off a win, whereas Waterson's coming off a loss. So where she got picked apart by JJ. So. Great. Any other last thoughts about that one before we go ahead and move on? Dope.
No.
All right. Let me give me 1 second. Let me get back here so we can call our next fight. Sean, you're doing such a wonderful job. Why don't you go ahead and take this one?
You don't get this often, but you got a heavyweight fight that is probably going to turn out to be a jiu-jitsu match. You don't say that often. Both guys, they have somewhat knockout power, and they have a willingness to strike, but both these guys' strengths are jiu-jitsu, which is very odd for heavyweights, and they're very highly talented at grappling. So it'll be interesting to see where this fight goes. Fabricio Verdum versus Alexei Olenek.
Yep. To your point, this one is going to be fun, and you know what? Like, this is where it gets kind of fun when you start thinking about what the game plan is going to be, because Oleinik's striking is absolutely horrendous. Like, it's terrible. Like,
he has a willingness to throw heat, though, is his thing.
Yeah, but he does it in such a weird way. He does exactly what your boxing coach tells you not to do. He literally puts his face down, facing he puts his eyes are looking at the mat while he's throwing haymakers.
Yeah.
But he throws them heavy, though. I mean, the guy's had almost 70 MMA fights. He's been around the block. The guy's had the fights, and he doesn't give a shit. He'll look at the fucking mat and just throw haymakers until he can go. The thing is, I think he does that because he doesn't have like the best like open grappling. And what I mean by that is his shots are a little ugly. he'll literally just bend the top part of his body and try and grab you.
A guy coming from that part of the world, you think that he would have really good takedowns, but they are sloppy, and it's kind of like he wants to work off his back is what he wants.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about a sambo, judo, all that stuff, that's more upper body because they're looking for trips and stuff.
Yeah,
but the thing with him is
Khabib is super technical with his wrestling. And his
takedowns. For sure. But that's what I was gonna say is the thing with Oleinik is he doesn't do those kind of takedowns. Is like he goes for like sloppy and ugly like double legs, single legs. And I think he's just looking to kind of bull rush you, and that's why he's looking for all those crazy haymakers.
Grappling.
Yeah,
he doesn't care how he does it. He doesn't care if he's on bottom or on top. He just wants to get into his strength.
And the thing about like Verdum is he's also fantastic. He has a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background. He's the dude in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, black belt, all that stuff. And you almost got to wonder, though, if he's going to use his striking to his advantage in this one.
He's got good striking because he's been training with Rafael Cordeiro, which, for people who don't know, he's the one who trained Anderson Silva, made Anderson Silva what he is. And a lot of those older Brazilian guys, like Vitor when he was younger, Vanderlei. Who else am I thinking? Junior dos Santos when he was young. He was there. Obviously, the Nogueiras. Like, he ran the camp in Brazil back in the day.
Yeah.
Shoot the box. Yeah.
Yep.
Shoot the box.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if Oleinik's got a ton of submissions, man. I mean, he's got submissions over Maurice Green,
Ezekiel choke.
Mark Hunt. He's got a submission. Junior Albini, who's a decent fighter as well. Travis Brown, he's got a submission over. He's got some names on his mantle as far as like being able to get guys out. I don't think he's at the same level in that grappling as Verdum is, though.
And Verdum, like we said for the last fight, Verdum was a world champion. He did defend it, too. No, wait, did he yet? No, he didn't defend it, I don't think.
No, his first defense, I think, was against Stipe.
But he beat Kane, and that means something, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely it does. The thing is, will he be confident because he is coming off of a knockout loss? Will he feel confident in his hands? It's been a
couple of years since he's fought.
Yeah, or is he gonna come? Is he gonna come in after a few year layoff? The last fight he had was a knockout, and is he gonna want to grapple, which would be completely fine with Oleinik too. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see what guys,
the more
what the game plans
are.
This
is kind of a fight where both guys would be okay with wherever it goes.
Yeah, I think so. And that's what I think is going to... For me, like, as someone that likes to analyze and watch the fighters and watch the game plans, I think for me it's going to be to see what their game plan is. Like, what is Verdum thinking when he's coming in? Because he does have very crisp boxing, so he could be thinking, this guy just likes to put his freaking head down. I don't care if I get taken down, because I can try and submit him too. So I'm just going to go for the knockout on the feet. I'm going to try and tag him as many times as I can. He's sloppy. He leaves a ton of openings, so I'm just going to pepper him, and see where that takes me. Worst case scenario, I could take him down and we can, go into the grappling from there. Or is he like, no, I'm not going to screw around. I'm going to do what I'm good at. I'm going to go back to my roots. I'm going to use my jiu-jitsu, and we're going to do this thing like that. So that's I'm excited for that. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I don't think Verdum is going to have the takedown defense that he's need. I feel like if they keep it with the hands, which the bow constrictor's never known to do, I honestly think that Oleinik is going to get him to the ground and submit him. I don't see Verdum peppering him or catching him with a quick punch and putting him out. But like you said, we got to see, what's the game plan coming in. But I just think Oleinik, being that they're both kind of up there and they're, I can't see Verdum going much longer. Oleinik, the way he fights, with his submission game, I think he's going to come in a much crisper fighter. I think he's going to take that Verdum in a submission.
I would think Oleinik's best chance is to make it sloppy.
Yeah, I think he's but I think he's gonna get him to the ground. I mean, I know you guys said it's very unorthodox. It's not. It doesn't seem like a very sequenced takedown or, the way he gets to where he wins his fights. But I still think that he's gonna overpower Verdum. I think Olenek just has the power to take him down and submit him.
Even considering Verdum's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background.
Yeah, I still think Olenek's gonna be able to take him down.
Okay,
I would think Verdum would almost welcome it though.
So do I. I mean, Verdum has a lot of submission wins in the UFC, but I just don't think he's going to be able to overpower Olenek. I mean, when Olenek gets on that ground, he'll grab you any which way he can and just put you out.
Yeah. For me, I don't see Olenek hasn't fought anybody, at least that I can recall off the top of my head in the UFC, that has the same jiu-jitsu. No, I don't think there's any other heavyweights that have the same level of jiu-jitsu as Verdum. To me, I think Verdum's the better all-around fighter. He's better on the feet. He's better on the ground. I see him taking this fight. I know he's had a little bit of a layoff, and that's my only concern, but the only thing I will say to that is Olenek, on the other hand, has had a crap load of fights. I mean, like I said, he's got almost 70 fights under his belt. So
that doesn't mean much.
It means wear you out, though. Yeah. That's what I meant, on the flip side. So whereas Verdum could come in the fresher fighter because Olenek's just been so consistently fighting since the 90s, I think, in MMA. He's had like 70 fights. So
yeah, I'm picking Verdum for your reasons, and he's had the championship experience. He's fought pretty much everybody in the heavyweight division, and he's had wins over big fighters. So.
Absolutely. I don't think we should. There's no. Do you guys want to look at any stats in the submission or anything? Or
no, not really.
No, not worth it on this one. All right, cool.
I mean, we know they're grapplers.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go ahead and check out these stats. Again, these stats or the odds change all the time, so don't just go off of our podcast because they change by the hour. I mean, shoot, since we put them up, we've already seen them change a few times, only by like 1 or 2 digits, but still. So we're looking at this one. Where did it go? Because, again, they're all moving. Oh, here we go. For some reason, it jumped to the top. So Verdum's the big favorite here, actually. Minus 310 to Olenek's plus 240. Big odds here.
Yeah, big odds. Don't see that a lot.
Nope. I think the only other big one that's like that, and it's not quite as big as the Ryan Sam Alvey fight at the beginning. So, another potential good one to go on. At least Dan, maybe according to Dan. So, all right. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns about this one? No. All right. No. Cool.
All right, the main prelim, right?
I believe we are. Yes, the main prelim. Yes,
this
the headliner.
Man. Anthony Pettis taking on Donald Cerrone. He's back after his knockout loss to McGregor, which he had some interesting comments about. His activity, about how sometimes his activity helps him, but a lot of times too it also hurts him. And he had some interesting comments about that. I would go check that out.
You're not allowing yourself to recover.
Yeah, and sometimes where I think he kind of said he wasn't mentally ready to fight. Like he's realized is like the McGregor fight. I don't think he said he was mentally in the right space where he should be in that big of a fight. But go, you can always go watch it. I think it was with Brett Okamoto from ESPN. But this is a fight that's happened before. Pettis got the best of him. I believe it was a body shot. It was a kick to the Cowboys' liver that knocked him out, or that at least was the beginning of the end. But yeah, I mean, 2 guys who are willing to stand up. They're great kicks, good boxing. It's gonna be a fun fight.
This one's a fun fight.
Yeah,
this one's to get you pumped up for the main card.
This is your warm up for the main card.
I'm always excited to see either one fight.
Yeah, for sure. With the right matchup, for sure too.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to bring this up. So the UFC actually posted their record book recently. And I think it's just a neat way for fans that kind of want to dig into the stats, anybody that's a stat lover as well. And let me tell you something, Donald Cerrone, probably because of the volume that he's fought at since he came into the UFC, he holds a lot of these records.
Yeah, so, if you look at like the top 10 for people who have wins, it's not people who you think really.
No. So so the very top of the list for wins is actually Donald Cerrone with 23 wins in the UFC. That's an incredible freaking number to have. I mean, and to think about who he has fought since he has been in the UFC, he has always been at the top tier of 155. Yep. So he has always fought the top dogs. And 170, yeah, to your point, too. He didn't have as much success there, but I think most of his success came at lightweight. But still, to your point, 23 wins in the record book on that one. Man. Finishes 16. He's tied in first with Charles Oliveira, funny enough, who's fought recently. I think he had a couple more on here. He's in the top 10 for knockouts with 10 in his career.
Is he up there for submissions?
Yep, he's
Number
got.
10, yeah, he's tied for 10.
He's tied with a bunch of people at 6. And then there was another one on here too that he was at that I wanted to check out. Yes, total fight bonuses too. 18. Yeah, that means that he puts on a show, man.
That means all 16 of his finishes were fight of the night bonuses and then 2 decisions.
And he's on like the top 10 for a lot of these other records. I won't go ahead looking through them. Oh, Knockdown Landed was the other one I wanted to mention too. He's number 1 for that. Over Anderson Silva, he has 20 knockdowns. So Donald Cerrone has been around, man. He's been around in the game for a long time. I think he wants to wash that taste out of his mouth from the McGregor fight. From that performance, that was pretty rough. But, hey, you lost to Conor McGregor. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting him to win in that one. Maybe the fashion.
A lot of people were.
But this one's just a fun one. And then you got Anthony Pettis on the other side. Sean's crashing over there, man. And he's knocking Khabib off there, man. That was tough.
How many beers have I had? Oh, God.
Man, Sean, we lost our train because technical difficulty over there. He's lost his mic.
You were talking about Cowboy. Just keep talking about him.
No, actually, I was going to move over to Anthony Pettis real quick and talk about a creative striker.
Well, doesn't seem like you lost your train of thought.
Yeah, but he is coming off a 2-fight losing streak. I honestly thought with his off the cage Superman punch of Wonder Boy, I thought Pettis was coming right back around as the top contender, but he's lost his 2 last fights, and they didn't look pretty either. But I still think it's going to be an exciting fight. I'm excited to see Pettis come in here and fuck around with Cowboy standing up.
Well, you got to give respect to that Tony Ferguson fight because he had a moment in that fight that would have completely shocked the 155 division.
I think he had maybe 2 different. I think he had 2 situations in that fight where he almost upset Tony.
I think there's really only one moment that he visibly hurt him, at least that we can tell. But he was having success until he broke his hand.
Yeah. Let's be candid. This one's just for fun. This is a fun fight. That's what this is. This
is 2 vets that are going to go in there.
You know both their names. This is going to be absolutely. This is going to be a ton of fun to watch. Don Cerrone, is he still? Oh, he's number 6 in the lightweight division still. Kind of surprising that he's actually still that high. But Anthony Pettis is number 15, I believe, at lightweight. But this one's just a fun one to get everybody excited for the main card. I think it's going to be fun.
This one's to get your money.
Yeah, I think Anthony Pettis is going to be the hungrier fighter here. I think Donald Cerrone is kind of in a mental space right now, especially coming off of that and then hearing some of his comments coming off of the Conor McGregor fight. So I'm going with Pettis on this one. I think he's a more creative striker.
I'm picking Pettis
too.
For the same reason I picked McGregor. I think Pettis is a fast starter. He's not really a guy who does well late in fights, so I think he knows Donald, who's historically a very slow starter. He's going to try to overwhelm him early, body shots, because that's where you can get to Donald quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's going to put him away.
Danny boy.
Yeah, I mean, based on the odds, we got Pettis coming in at a -150 and Cerrone coming in at a +120. I mean, it's still close, but I'm going to go with Pettis. I think he's going to probably come in fast and hot, and I don't think Donald Cerrone is going to be able to get into his groove. So I'm going with Pettis.
This is the first fight that we all 3 agreed on since Ryan's banned at the very beginning.
This is the first fight of the night, baby.
There we go.
But yeah, great fight, fun fight. Can't wait to watch it. This one will be a good. And remember, this one's gonna be on ESPN or ESPN Plus, so it's gonna be free to you, free access. Go ahead, watch it. It's gonna be a fun one.